All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to the session. This is Make Every Rep Sell Like Your Best Rep. So this is our safe harbor statement. I'm sure everybody's seen it plenty of times this week. So I introduce myself. My name is Brian Reynolds. I work for Salesforce.com. I am a senior support account specialist in our Premier Support Group. I've been with Salesforce for just under 3 years. Got my 3-year anniversary coming up in January. We're very happy. I am a certified advanced administrator and developer. So I work with my customers and help them with their orgs. So just to go over our agenda, I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then we're going to go right into our topic, Make Every Rep Sell Like Your Best Rep. We're going to start off with Burke Butler with BMC Software, and then also John Flonderheim and Steve Nugent with Tyco International, and then we'll follow up with a Q&A session. So here it is, the Sales Cloud, the world's most complete sales application. And I'm sure, hopefully, many of you here in the audience today were asking yourself a question which caused you to come to this session. But for any of you that may not have asked that question, I put some up on the screen for you to borrow. So how can Salesforce.com be leveraged? And what can I do to make all of my reps sell like my best reps? What have others done? So if these are some questions you might have been asking, you're in the right room, and we're going to address those here shortly. So let's talk about some challenges to growing revenue, right? Low rep productivity. How do I get my reps to spend more time in front of their prospects? How do I make them more productive? Poor win rates. How can I win more deals? Why am I not winning more deals? Why are my deals falling out? Then there's poor predictability. How am I doing against my target? I actually have kind of a funny story about that. In a former life, I was in sales myself before I went into Premier Support. And in a different company, we didn't use Salesforce.com. And every month we would get together with our sales manager, or the director of sales. And he'd bring us all into this big room, and we'd all sit down, and he would just go around the room and have everybody tell him what their forecast was for the month. You know, what are you going to close this month? And he said something in one of these meetings, and I'll never forget it. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, whatever. I just want to go sell some stuff. And he made this comment in one of our forecasting meetings. He said, every month, we consistently deliver between 26 and 43% of our forecast. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, consistently between 26 and 43%. He actually, coincidentally, left the company 6 months later. Everybody was like, whoa, wow, he was nice. Why do you leave? But 26 to 43%. It just doesn't make sense. So let's talk about some keys to driving sales success. A couple things that maybe my sales director at the time wasn't thinking about. It's got to be loved by your reps. Your reps they have to want to use it. It has to be very usable, easy to use, easy for them to go about their work. And it has to make them more productive, right? Sales reps want to make money, and your solution needs to make them more productive in making that money. It also needs to be critical for your managers, right? It has to give them visibility. It has to allow them to see the pipeline. It has to allow them to see what's coming so they can make accurate forecasts as opposed to 26 to 43%. Also needs to drive effectiveness, right? Has to allow your salespeople to be more effective, your management more effective. So keeping these things in mind, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first speaker, which is Mr. Burke Butler with BMC Software. Burke?
Thank you. My name is Burke Butler. I'm with BMC Software. I'm not going to talk a lot about myself because there are more interesting things for us to talk about. Here's a quick summary. If anybody wants to know more, I'm on LinkedIn. I want to say that it's particularly meaningful for me to be here today because exactly 12 months ago I was sitting in that seat thinking about becoming a Salesforce.com customer and wondering if this platform could enable us to achieve some of our objectives around consolidating sales processes and driving more uniformity in the way that we run front office operations at BMC Software. Today, 12 months later, we've completed a very successful implementation, and I'm pleased to be here to share some of the story with you guys today. BMC Software, quickly, we are recognized as the leader in business service management globally, and we're a fairly large organization. We did a little over $1.87 billion in revenue last fiscal year. Our deployment covered about 1,450 users across 40 countries, and we accomplished our implementation in 90 days. We use Salesforce automation, forecasting, products assets, and it was very important to us to get multi-currency and multi-language to accommodate our international users. So here's what I was faced with 12 months ago when I was sitting in this audience, and you guys have probably seen this before. Some of you may have this scenario yourselves. A legacy application that had become highly complicated and was difficult to make changes to it. It was difficult to support the organization with the infrastructure we had to work with. BMC Software had also grown through acquisition, and what that led to was a number of different business groups that were effectively operating in separate sales processes and silos, and we didn't have uniformity in the organization, and we viewed that as an opportunity to rethink our strategy, and can we bring everybody together and do things in a more consistent way and get better optics into the business. So I give my senior leadership, my senior management, all the credit. They had a terrific vision. They said, we want to get everybody in one house, and we want to get everybody doing the very same thing, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about that in a subsequent slide, because I think it's one of the most important things about what we were able to accomplish and how we're able to get higher performance out of the entire sales organization today. They wanted us to keep it simple, focus on the rep, make sure everything we're putting out there is really going to help the sales rep do their job better. Focus on the sales rep. And our approach was to leverage out-of-box capabilities anywhere that we could, where it made sense, and we did that. And by the way, they wanted it done in 90 days. So that made it kind of fun. So the approach that my senior leadership team took, and one of the reasons I think we've been so successful in our first 7 or 8 months of operations, is that senior leadership observed the consistently top-performing sales reps in the company. And they looked at the steps that those sales reps took consistently, start to finish, throughout the entire opportunity life cycle. And they took that knowledge and they translated it into a consistent set of steps, or a sales process, if you will. And they were all of the key steps that enabled us to get that velocity through the pipeline. And it's probably a little bit different in every company. But the key thing here is that it was our senior leadership that stepped up and observed the behaviors and translated that into a process which became the foundation of the project that led to our unification and consistent way of running the front office. One tricky thing about it, BMC has 2 separate business units, and they have slightly different sales processes for some understandable reasons. That, on the surface, sounded like a pretty complicated thing, but I'm going to talk about it in a minute. It turns out it wasn't that difficult to do. And as I said before, once they knew what they wanted it fast, right? I'm sure we all are familiar with that scenario. So the solution that we were able to model to was we configured these 2 separate sales processes within the same environment, leveraging something called record types, opportunity record types with Salesforce.com, It sounds complicated. It was surprisingly simple, right? I thought we were stepping into a pretty complicated thing when we said these guys are going to do it this way, these guys are going to do it this way, but it turned out that it really wasn't that difficult to accomplish within Salesforce.com. And we honed in on something that we started calling stages and gates. So stages are a progression through an opportunity, milestones, if you will. I think of a sale as a project management opportunity. So we're hitting milestones as we move through the stages. And I'll talk about some examples of what those may be in a minute. And then within each stage, we have things that we refer to as gates. And gates are specific tasks that we would ask each rep to perform within each stage of the sales cycle. So a word to the wise here. When we thought about stages and gates, and we want sales reps to take all of these steps within the sales cycle, and it was easy enough to configure that into Salesforce.com. But then the big question is, where do you configure the system so that it makes people check that I've done this and I've done this and I've done this? And that was a big dilemma, right? Because management always has the need for more information, and users have the need for a more usable system. And those things will always be in conflict. It's a little bit like these two billy goats up here up on this bridge. And that's what happened. We had to work through it, negotiate it, and those billy goats butted heads a few times before we got done. But it's going to be your responsibility to make sure that we get to some resolution at the end of the day so that both of those billy goats get across the bridge safely, right? That's the art of negotiation, and you guys are going to have to be able to manage that one because there will be a conflict. Need for more information, need for a more usable system. You got to bring those two together. In the end, we got with project sponsorship and came out with probably the right level of lightness or heaviness around what had to be ticked. So people have been asking, what are some examples of sales stages and gates? So the kinds of things, I think it'll vary with every company. And I think it's critical that your senior leadership be the ones that author it. I think that's why it works for us. Some examples might be that I've seen, stages might be interest, consensus, evaluation, and decision. Interest, the customer showing a genuine interest in a purchase. Consensus, they've reached an internal consensus that they're going to buy something. We don't know what, but they're going to buy. Evaluation, we're in a bake-off. And decision, the customers at the final stages, and we're going to learn who won that bake-off real soon. So then some gates, some representative gates, if we're in that consensus phase, we might want to have a gate in there that says, have you confirmed budget and time frame? Have you documented an addressable pain? Have you documented the customer's future state solution? Right, gates that we want sales reps to consistently process as they move through an opportunity life cycle. So that's representative of the kinds of stages and gates that may make sense in a particular environment. This is a standard governance model. I know you've seen one in every presentation you've been here since you've been here. I'm not going to talk to it much. I do want to make a quick comment about right there in the center, as well as what I like to refer to as the bottom pillar on the pyramid. I know that BMC software, Salesforce.com has many highly qualified delivery partners, and they're all very good at what they do. However, we at BMC had the experience of working with Aperio in our 90-day implementation, and those guys were fantastic. They came in, they listened to what we wanted, they listened to what we didn't want, they helped us manage scope, they laid out a project plan that made sense, and they helped us get it done on time and within budget. So thanks to the team at Aperio for your help on a nice win earlier this year. The results, everybody from every functional area brought our hands together in the cloud, right? What we were able to accomplish was this. was repeatable opportunity life cycles, which led to much better velocity and much better predictability. We're seeing much better close rates because we're following proven process steps as we move through an opportunity life cycle. That next bullet point there, train on process, not tool, that sounds subtle, but I think it's really material. In our legacy environment, that was very complex and difficult to use, we used to go do training campaigns and all kinds of things to get people to use the tool, and still our adoption was pretty poor. What we did with Salesforce.com was we came up, we don't train tool anymore. When we work with sales reps, particularly a new onboard sales rep, we spend a material amount of time training them on sales process. You need to follow these stages, these gates. This is, from a business perspective, the sales process that we want you to adopt and embrace. And then at the end of that business training session, we pull up Salesforce.com and we say, oh yeah, and by the way, here's a simple tool that does nothing more than model the process we just talked about. And they look at it and they say, all right, I get it. And we're done. We don't train tool anymore because the tool does nothing more than model the process. And if I can impose anything on you guys to think about, try to get a tool to model a process, and you're well on your way to adoption. So I like to, yesterday when Mark Benioff was given his keynote, he talked about proof points, and he's spot on. We should always talk about proof points. And so, where are the proof points that we're driving consistent behavior that's helping reps get to better outcomes? We've gotten to a point where we crafted our dashboards and our key metrics in such a way that we can now operate our quarterly business reviews right out of Salesforce.com. So there's no more PowerPoints and multiple versions of the truth, any of that stuff. It's let's get the right people in the room, whoever they are, to perform this business review, change the name of the running user on the dashboard, refresh it, and here's one single source of truth where we're going to sit down and talk about achievements and performance and all of the things that we need to be very crisp about within our work groups. And similarly with forecast, leveraging the customizable forecast module and combining it with a very well-structured sales process, we have extraordinary predictability in our forecast, and it all comes straight out of the system of record, where it begins with a basis of what's in the pipeline, and then it comes up into the forecast module. If you guys haven't seen the forecast module, I encourage you to get a nice demo of it, because it is really powerful when it's done right. And each successive line of management can look at what their subordinates have presented. They make their necessary adjustments numerically and put some comments next to that, and it moves up another layer of management. It has facilitated tremendous efficiencies at BMC Software to be able to leverage that model. And in combination with a well-defined sales process and well-implemented forecast module, we have just seen some magic happen at BMC Software. It's fantastic the way it's working for us. So one of the key takeaways, I think something I intended to say on a previous slide and I didn't, is the reason that this, in my opinion, that this works so well is because this new sales process, it was born from our leadership. They watched our top performers. They documented it. They came up. They were the cooks in the kitchen that made it happen. So it wasn't some clever acronym that a sales operations guy like me came up with. And it wasn't a book that somebody wrote about sales process and put it on Amazon.com 2 years ago. It was our chief cooks watched the best performers and translated that into something actionable. And that, to me, is why it's so powerful and works for us as well as it does. We got to a point where we train on process, not tool. And I just want you to think about that. If you can get to a point where you don't have to teach people how to use the tool, you teach people on the process, and the tool makes sense, then I would suggest you've gotten to a good place. and begin with the end in mind. We often forget about that, but when we're laying out a sales process, think about the metrics that we want to be able to pull out of that. How is it going to construct a dashboard that produces actionable intelligence, right? If you get that incorporated up front and you begin with the end in mind, you're going to put yourself in a very good spot once you get to a successful implementation. And what I say all the time, a lesson learned from our legacy experience, keep it simple, don't over-engineer the system, and make it all about, what's going to help the sales rep do their job a little bit better. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Bert. All right, so now we're just going to move into our next segment with Steve Nugent and John Flanderheim with Tyco International, and they're going to talk about the Sales Rep Personal Success Plan.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Burke, for giving us the insight on the process. Welcome, everybody. Thanks very much for having chosen our session today. We have split it up a little bit differently. Myself, John Flanderheim, Steve Nugent on the stage. We both flew in from Europe on Monday, and we thought about it in the plane, and we said, okay, you guys are so bored with all those PowerPoint presentations, so I promise you, you only get 70 from me today. No, just kidding. No, we have 2 slides because every time we present something, we would like to present our company. Company is Tyco. We are part of that. We have a lot of business units, 5 to be exact, and our business unit is ADT Worldwide, which you can see here. And in Europe, at the moment, we have rolled out Salesforce.com in the 19 countries which we are representing, where we have the language issue and the challenge, so to speak, roughly about 1,200 users. So far, because I'm a little bit late for my sales review, so if you don't mind, I'm getting up the stage and get it up to Steve.
Hey John, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Steve. Thanks very much. And I apologize being late because I had a little bit of a tough crowd here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, sorry.
So I've got some good news for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, today our review is going to be completely different.
Different? That's hardly a reservation, Steve, because they're always different.
I don't understand what you mean, John.
You don't understand what I mean?
No.
They're always different. If you normally look at the reviews we are always doing, yeah? There are 5 minutes, you're always late, my numbers, I give him my numbers, but he hardly reviewed them, and now you say that we're going to change that?
Yeah, but we've got Salesforce now, and a punch of a button,
Salesforce.
I can get your numbers.
Salesforce. Now he's going to use Salesforce. We have it for a year. You saw the rollout numbers? Now he's going to use Salesforce. But Steve, you know, if you look at Salesforce, there's a lot of reports in there. Are you absolutely sure the numbers you're looking for are in Salesforce? Because I am prepared. I have my numbers here. John's numbers. You see? I did my preparation. I have all my graphs with me.
Okay, John. Okay.
So, sorry. That's technique. Yeah,
I thought the roof had fell
No,
in.
the roof had fell down. So, Steve, what do you want to see?
So we've got something now called the Personal Success Plan. You can call it a PSP. I know you like short words.
PSP, Personal Success Plan. What's that? Is that Sony PlayStation thing?
No. It's a formal business review.
A formal business review.
Look,
Okay.
I've set one up for you. Okay,
I'm looking forward to that then.
Let me see if I can work this. Oh, there we go. Wow. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do, John?
Yes.
We're going to go through this, and it's for you to work on when we meet next month.
Next month? Why next month?
Yeah.
Are we going to do this regularly?
It's going to be a regular review. It's going to be a review based on fact and accountability.
What do you mean? You don't trust my numbers?
It's not about trust, John. It's a step-through process, okay? A step-through process where we're going to jointly commit to making you achieve.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to review. We're going to review your order values.
Uh-huh.
We're going to look at your pipeline.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to look at that activity. You know that activity
Oh,
you
that's
keep
scary.
telling me you're up to?
Yeah, that's scary.
Okay.
So you're going to do that all together. So, but that looks like what we did last month with the strategy meeting.
Exactly. It's a mini strategy. It's about you becoming more successful.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that then.
Okay. So, what we've got now, I've already pre-filled some of these comments. So
yeah, that was my question. So.
Was it your question? Okay.
Yeah, my question was basically you filled in comments in here which are basically on my personal success plan.
Okay, but next month we'll fill these in together and we can work through. But I think I've captured a pretty reasonable reference on this. And you might ask, where have I got that from? Okay,
yeah.
So we're looking now at a 3-month summary review. Okay, so this is about how you've done to date. Okay, what you've achieved against your target.
Okay, so basically what you have done, Steve, sorry to interrupt you, but you put in target, so what's that? Is that my target?
That's the target that we agreed earlier on in the year.
Okay.
Okay, so what...
That's easy to achieve.
That's easy. So the thing that I'm concerned about are the red areas. So this is like a traffic light system, okay? So
okay, so the red is then...
I'm very happy with the green. It's the red I'm concerned about.
Yeah, because my margins are great.
Yeah, margins are great, but your reoccurring revenue, John, that maintenance stream that the company are looking for is pretty poor. Okay. So what we also have here, we've got some links to reports. These are specific reports about you. So you'll be able to look into these reports and we can see. So all your orders are in there by product type. We've got a pipeline report.
And that's all my stuff.
This is all yours because of the way Salesforce hierarchy works. It just views yours. You'll log in as this and this will be all your information.
Wow.
Okay. And then we can have a look at that activity report.
Yeah, don't open that, please.
No, don't open that.
That's always the scary part, Steve.
Okay.
Oh, that looks great. So, and then...
We can also do a 12-month review. So we can look back over the year, see how you've been doing. So I know it's been a tough year, and there's a lot of red on this screen as we...
Okay, so basically what you see here is then, because we start in November, so, oh, that's actual. So it's a rolling 12 months.
It's a rolling 12 months, so we can look at some trending and see how things are performing. Okay.
And again, it's against target. So basically, because I see there, what I see, order units, so you filled in that I have to get 10 orders a month?
Yeah.
How do you come to that?
We'll come to that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And also we've got a snapshot in time of where we are today, and we're looking forward a few months ahead. Okay, so things are looking pretty good, but again, John, I've got to point out that maintenance issue. Again, no quotes are out there for December and January. Very poor, you know. So.
Yeah, but that's the training I asked you for a couple of months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But again, if we can get some maintenance orders in there, that will go green, and that will show that you're going to achieve, okay?
But this is basically what you say, forward plan, so that's my forecast. So if I go in there tomorrow and lock in that order, which you still have to sign up with me, then basically that kicks in then.
That'll change green, and it works. It'll refresh straight away. So you can just keep using the personal success plan to see how you're doing and how you're going looking forward, okay? Because again, John, this is about you. Because if you're successful, then I'm successful, and that's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if we home in on this section, which is the cross-selling, absolutely. Okay, so you've got a fair mix of product and solution selling there.
Okay.
But if, you know, what this tells me is how that mix looks, you know. Yeah, you're pretty good on the detection systems.
Yeah, I love that.
But if you're on the CO2, for example, we'll get higher margins, and we can also get more maintenance, and that's what I'm after.
Yeah, but that's also tough to sell, so I understand that. but that's my mix then.
That is your mix, yeah.
So basically, if we optimize the mix, then we can even better. All right.
And I'll show you a dashboard later with the whole team mix.
Okay, you see the orders on top of it. Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also, the other thing that we factored in here is is some ratios. Okay, so I know now that if we can start getting you to put out 15 units a month, and based on your conversion rate, ratio orders and quotes, I'll be able to predict statistically that you're going to hit your target. So that's how this works.
Okay, and how does it look today?
It's looking pretty good, actually.
I
But
thought
again,
so.
that maintenance...
I just wanted to hear that for the audience here.
That maintenance is really an issue.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so at the bottom of the plan, this is where we need to focus in on getting some smart objectives in place.
Okay.
Okay. So I've already filled 2 in for you, but if, for example, we look at the CO2 training, for example, I thought that if we could get Roger to help you on some field training this month.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. And some product management training, we'll be able to complete this section.
Okay.
Now, what can happen here, John, is that what I want you to do between now and next meeting is that you can adjust the percentage. So as you move through the plan, you can increase that percentage. And I also want you to fill in some description and comments on how.
Okay, so basically, if you say that I have done my training, I can say 100% done, ticked off.
Yeah, that's great. And if it's 100%, it won't follow through to the next plan.
Fantastic.
However, if it isn't done, the plan, when we create next month's plan, it will take unfinished objectives and it will bring them through. Okay, so it will keep carrying them through. So we're not going to forget this now.
Okay,
it's always going to be there. It's always going to go through.
So now I really have to do the training then. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, that looks great.
So I'm not going to have any comments from you like you promised me this last month, because it's going to remind me, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
So, excuse me a minute, I've just lost my way.
Let's go back.
Yeah, I know. It's, Technology, hey, there we go. Let's just go back, and there we go. So,
yeah, we're getting there.
So that proves it's live. Okay, so I noticed while we were reviewing your pipeline report, this particular account, this particular opportunity has been around for some time.
Yeah.
And I know you keep telling me your margins are good, and there is some good margin on this, but what I'd like to see is, I'd like to see this opportunity come in, okay? I want this deal won, okay?
I need some more discount.
Yeah, and that's right. So I'm going to put some more discount in this opportunity.
Okay.
It'll be recorded in the opportunity, and then
so I don't have to call you when I'm sitting
negotiating. You won't have to call me, it'll be there, and okay, so...
Okay.
The other thing I've noticed, John, is on targeted accounts in your activity, you used to get a lot of business out of Pirelli. And again,
great calendar, by the way.
It's what, sorry?
Great calendar, by the way.
Oh, it's the calendar. Yeah. Oh, I see. So what I'd like you to do is I want to refocus your attention back on this account, okay? And again, I want you to add some comments into here, and we'll review this again in a month's time.
Okay, so basically all what you have done now on the objectives and the elements in there is locked it. So it's there, so you and I cannot forget it, and I have to do some actions.
That's correct. Okay.
That's cool.
Okay, so this review is going to happen every month. Okay, it's yours. You're going to work on it.
Yeah.
And next month we're going to set up another one, and we're going to see how you've achieved. Now the great thing for me,
because that's only for me then now.
No, it isn't just for you. It's for all my team. And
so okay, everybody gets it. Oh, that's great.
And I've got a dashboard. Oops, if I can find the dashboard. Here we go. I've lost it. Where's that gone? Aha. There we go. So,
okay. What's that then?
So this dashboard gives me a view of all my team based with their target and their performance, so I can now see at a glance who are my best reps in each of the areas, okay? And my aim is to get you all to the top rep, okay? I've got a nice pie chart there that shows my product mix, so I can start to focus you guys, get you trained in the right areas on that product.
Okay, so basically this is our team.
This is our team, okay? So when I get the bar up for everybody, then that's my plan.
Honestly, so basically this can be binned then,
that can
my
be
numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from my point of view is I've got visibility,
yeah.
You've got visibility, we're both on the same page and we both know what we're doing.
Fantastic. Okay. You like it? I like it. Hold on, let me know that. So, thanks very much, Steve. I think that's great stuff. You don't think so? Yeah? I think so too. So, some key takeaways for you. If you look at the elements in here, it's a formal business review, like Steve already mentioned. So it's something which you don't do the 5-minute talk, which we always do, and I've done them myself as well. But it's now locked. People can see where they stand, their objectives. It's transparent, because you have 100% visibility on both sides. The action plans, I like that very much, because that's something you really can, like Steve mentioned, a little mini strategy element in there, where you lock things in there, you commit to things, and that's the other thing. It's a committing element in there. And you see that people are getting so exciting, and we did some rollouts in the European countries. We did Benelux at the moment. We're rolling it out at the moment in TFIS, which is one of our business units in the UK. Germany is on board, and it's great elements in there where we see some things coming back from the sales rep themselves, where they basically say, I'm so exciting, I do know now what you expect from me, and I can track my own measurements, and that's the great stuff about it.
John, can I just say, the other thing that we've noticed is because the reps now see the managers looking actually into their reports, that data quality is starting to improve as well, because they see the manager actually looking in on that, whereas before, I know we were very glib about me not looking into Salesforce, but we do find sometimes managers do not focus in on the system that we've invested in as well. So it is definitely a two-way thing.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And of course, you have some technical details as well, Steve. The technical summary, again, I promise you not to bore you with PowerPoint slides, so I'm not going to use all those elements here. The thing is that I would like to thank the European team and the Salesforce team for helping us out there and setting things up and still supporting us in optimizing the elements here. So if you have questions, we have asked Darren to be in today to help us out there if there are any technical questions. So if you have those, then we can answer them absolutely for you. And I think that's what we wanted to say today.
Sure.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. So this is just a slide. Basically, we always want to get feedback on how we're doing in our sessions. So in the lobbies, if you guys go, you'll see the kiosk to rate the session. All right, now we're going to open it up for some question and answer. If you notice in the aisleways, there's some microphones there. So we are recording the session. So if we want to make sure your questions are recorded. So if you do have a question, please step over to the mic to ask your question. Does anybody have any questions? None.
Yeah.
We got one?
There's a couple coming over here, Brian.
How was user adoption? So you've got this, you implemented this whole personal success plan, and it always looks really sexy and great on the screen, but a lot of times it's hard to get people to adopt and to kind of buy into that whole. So how did you do that, and what were some of the lessons learned around that?
Yeah, thanks very much for the question. The question is basically how did we, because it's what you said, it's quite a sexy. Thank you very much for that. But no, you're absolutely right. What we did do, because what we're talking about is behavior in basically change in behavior from salespeople. Yeah? But I said earlier, it's 100% transparent, it's adaptive. So what we do normally in the rollout session, that we explain that we're going to use and utilize Salesforce much more. And the reviews are part of sales management in our organization. So they know that they are being reviewed. However, those 5-minute talks, 10-minute talks. So what we do now is say, okay, it will be part, and it is formally. So what we haven't said in the element in there, it's been locked. It's also the sales manager will have this review with his manager because the whole thing is being rolled up. But we just do training to all the sales rep. We play around with it. They have the opportunity. And then after a month, then they are more or less up and running. Yeah? Does that answer your question? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Could I make a comment on
Sure.
adoption? Okay. So all of the standard things get senior management buy-in up front and all the things you've heard before. I think there were two things that we did that have really helped. And they really get back to that slide where I said, here are my proof points. And it was, one of them is by using that customizable forecasting module. And all of the opportunity data that meets forecast criteria flows up and is nicely presented to a first-line sales manager and successively to a second-line manager, third-line manager. It really puts a self-enforcing mechanism in place, because if the opportunities aren't in the system and up to date, then their first, second, third, and fourth-line manager don't even know they exist, right? And if your fourth-line manager doesn't know you exist, you're in a tough place, and you don't have any offline way of being able to send him smoke signals and say, I have this offline deal and I'm going to get it done, but it's not in the system, because we run forecasts straight out of the system, and there's no opportunity to send those smoke signals. And then the second thing we've done is that begin with the end in mind thing, the dashboard that says, here's how we're going to discuss performance on a quarterly basis. If your information is not in the system and accurate, then that dashboard discussion is not going to be a whole lot of fun for you. So those are two things that I think have been self-fulfilling adoption drivers in our 8-month experience on this.
Thanks, Björk.
Hi. Are you going to be able to put back the screen where you show the technical pieces, or are you going to have that on Dreamforce? Because, I mean, it was great where all reps are numbers driven, and this part, thank you. Because it was like a mashup. You use Visualforce to put it into one profile, like the user's profile. Is that what we saw? When you were doing his review, you had it in sections on the bottom, the 3-month, the 12-month. That was done on Visualforce, is that?
Yeah, we asked Darren to answer that question.
Yes.
Thanks, Darren.
Okay, so the grid view was essentially information coming directly from Salesforce. So counting all of the opportunities, counting the number, counting the order values, but just rendering it in 3 or 4 different Visualforce views. So they were essentially a mashup, but it was all the information coming directly from Salesforce.
But you created a new tab, and then within the tab, those sections were created in Visualforce, or just the graphics?
Just the graphs.
Okay.
Just the graphs, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Then thank you all again.
Did you have one, Sharon? Oh, come on. Oh, shout it out. We'll repeat it.
For different product lines, the answer is a little bit different, but we could see anywhere from 3 months or shorter in a good one, and I think very often we see 6-7 month sales cycles. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, very much for coming in.
Thank you.